Hi guys, tonight I'm going to start working on the machine to get it level in preparation of getting this bed to move. Luckily we have the manual, the original manual for this machine, and it has a short paragraph on foundations for it. It says it would be best if it's perfectly level and on concrete. That's it. I guess a lot of these old machines were put on dirt and wood floors, sleepers and things like that. Well, tonight I started looking at the machine to tell and determine what we're going to have to do to raise it and lower it and get it level. When I first started, I was thinking that it's much like a lathe, you know, just do the rails and everything, or get the ways all level. And the way you do that is by moving these bolts up and down. They're situated about every 4 feet down the entire length of the machine. And then the base, sorry about the wiggling, I don't have a GoPro, so this old phone's all best we're going to do. And you may be able to see in there, that's one of the screws on the bottom of the column. So once we get it all level, we will bolt it down everywhere. And someone suggested putting a couple stops on the end of the table so that the force of the table, putting stops on the base so that the force of the table doesn't move it lengthwise. So what we're going to do is probably dig through that concrete and insert a post down into the ground and concrete it in, or maybe just at the first see how much force is needed. I will just bolt a big heavy angle iron plate to it. This is the end of the machine where all the whey oil collects and runs back down into the internal tank. As you can see, there's more of the bolts we're going to have to mess with. When we first got it, we popped off these covers and cleaned out that tank in there. Right now I'm waiting to get the table moved. It's covered up underneath this tarp so that I can clean out the rest of those tanks in there. The oil is pumped through the system and comes out in holes. There's one of them right there. And they're scattered down the side of the way, and oil goes through that area and distributes over the ways, and then drips into this little trough right here and runs back down to this collecting point all the way to the end. Well, by the way, that's the phase converter box that I'm going to have to put on. This is from Jim at Phasecraft. He makes a really nice phase converter. It's all put together. I mean, this box was $500. Here I am being a one-armed video photographer again. Kind of upside down. It's really well balanced. This is a 20 horsepower. And one of the things I like about it is you just push the button for stop and go, and it turns on the idler motor, which that's one I found over there. This came out of a big air conditioning unit. I think I paid $250 for it. It's a 20 horsepower, 3-phase. And the nice thing is, see how nicely he labels everything in here? You put your input here, and then down here you run 3 wires to your idler motor, and then 3 wires to your output, which will go to the planer. That's it. 9 wires hook up the whole dadgum thing. Good job. All right. I found that the end of the lathe where or the end of the planer where I'm standing is almost perfectly level. And so is the far end, 22 feet down that way. The inboard rail here, or way, is 1/4 inch lower than this way. So I started jacking on the bolts and figuring it out, and then it hit me that this is not as simple as just leveling up those other ways because of the column. So I pulled out one of my magnetic levels that we use for building buildings. I know it's a carpenter's level. I have others, but this is the best way to get it close, and then we'll go to the other levels. If you notice, I had to put about a 1/4 inch wedge under this end. So that means that this machine, this whole column, all 8,000 pounds of it has to lift up about a 1/4 of an inch. I think I'm going to get a pry bar and just put a lever and fulcrum underneath and lift it up a little bit to make it easier to jack up. This surface is a machine surface that goes the length of the ways for the top carriage, the horizontal carriage. So I'm going to get that perfectly level before I mess with the ways for the table. That's the end of the table there. I've taken off the wipers, and there wasn't any dirt or anything underneath there, and it looks pretty good. Luckily, my 15-inch level goes from side to side on these ways, so I won't have to use any parallels for that. As you can see, it's also showing it's about a 1/4 inch off. So that entire side of the mill, or I don't know why I call it a mill, that entire side of the planer is going to have to be raised up. Here's one of the pieces of furniture for the table. I haven't cleaned off the table yet. I was going to leave what protection there is on it until we're ready to go. This is one of the pieces of furniture. It's just all thread. You stick it in one of these holes. They're still got to be cleaned. And then you can adjust this screw in to take and put pressure on your workpiece to hold it. And from all the pictures I've seen, usually they put a couple of these on each end of your workpiece to keep it from moving. And then sideways also. This table has T-slots and a grid of those holes all the way through. Luckily, the guy that sold us this planer, Mr. Jose, also included all these fixtures and stops that he had for it. They're kind of dirty looking and such. And this is one that I tumbled and cleaned up a little bit. That blue machine down there I picked up used, and it's a well, I'll walk down there and show you. It's a little tumbler. Looks like a homemade one somebody made. Got a stainless steel basket inside, and it looks like it's got these little metallic shots in it. Unfortunately, there's not enough of those shots to do much good, so I'm going to have to find some other kind of tumbling medium to put in here so I can clean up this stuff. Here's the end where the table piston goes. That's the very end of the table piston over there. And it goes under and attaches to the table down there. If you look, I don't know if you can see, looks kind of messy down in there. That's one of the places that the whey oil collects. And it goes down this way, and there's a built-in tank underneath there that has a screen. And so all the oil goes through that screen into that tank, and then is pumped through to the weigh lube station. Here's where all that goes. As you can see, I've taken off the filter and I've plugged in a grease gun that's got oil in it, and every once in a while I'll give it a couple pumps and put some more pressure. So hopefully there'll be some oil. See here, that's one of the return holes out of this trough. The oil drips off the way here, catches on this, or drips off that way and catches inside, then goes through the hole. This is all the plumbing for the hydraulic movement of the table. Right now we've got it open all the way so we can try to move that piston. I was going to try to take the table off, but I can't get to the piston nut on the other end very easily, and if I can't take it off there, I'm going to have to break all these connections and lift this whole piston at once. And I think that with what I found from taking and making everything else move, that the ways had oil on them when it was decommissioned. And so I haven't found any rust, and then nothing was stuck. I also know that this table moved about an inch on the trip from an undisclosed location just south of the Canadian border to Houston. So it's not stuck. I think it just needs to be leveled out and then pulled with a come along, and we'll see what the ways look like. Well, that's all I can think to show you today. When I get to moving it around some more, I'll take another video.